on forwards.
Pardon me?
Hat is on forwards.
Looks good though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can see me in there, but
Yeah, looking good, man.
cool. Quick shout out to everyone.
Like to who?
To everyone listening.
Oh, everyone. Okay.
Yeah, everyone. Not me and you. We're the only ones here. Who do you think I'm talking to?
Well, I'm thinking if you shout out to someone, it's like a particular person. That's what I think.
Oh, okay.
So
No.
it's like
Shout out to everyone.
So it's more like hi everybody.
Yeah. After the last episode, got some crazy good feedback.
What was our last one?
We were talking about the solo skill development stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So we had a bunch of people join the site as members, which was really cool to see, and a bunch of people reach out to talk to you, which is cool. And I just wanted to tell everyone, because it's kind of a new, like it's in its infancy, to say the least, the way that we have the site going, and we're obviously in the process of building it, and the store is coming and all that kind of stuff. So just to be patient, because there's going to be constantly, it's going to evolve over time, and there's going to be constantly new things added. So whether that's more videos, more options for you guys, more discounts, more deals on the stuff. So yesterday I just launched that redirect page when people log in, to give them like a couple different options of things they can do with the membership. So stuff like that, it's going to keep coming over time. So I just want to mention that off the top, because there are more people jumping in now. So it's in its beginning stages, basically. So I'm doing it all myself, basically. So just be patient with me, because I'm not an expert by any means. So and with that said, if anything comes up while you guys are joining and using the site and using all the services, whatever, if you guys run into any problems with anything, like whatever, a video doesn't work, or a page doesn't work, or you're even just confused about the layout or the navigation or whatever, I really, really appreciate any feedback on how I can make it better for you guys, because from my end, when I do things, I think it makes sense. But when I'm coming to it from an outside perspective, I've been working on that thing for like 2 years. So I know the ins and outs of it and how it works. But for people that are coming new, maybe it doesn't flow properly or whatever. So any feedback you guys have, especially the people that have just joined, any feedback is very, very much appreciated. I will take no offense to anything that you guys have to say. So I just wanted to toss that out there off the hop, because there was a pretty good influx over the last week.
Speaking of that, so I saw someone said they really liked it as well, and they asked if I could do a series like on a sheet of the white
Off ice, yeah.
white shit.
Yeah, like the synthetic ice.
It's like, yeah, I could, and maybe I will. But honestly, if you go to the powertechhockey.ca videos and go into the stick handling stuff, you could probably just pick it out yourself there. And if it doesn't work, just text. But go through the videos first and see if there's anything that like I said, you don't have to be on ice. The principles are the principles. The weight transfers, all that stuff is going to be the same. And then if it doesn't, if you like something just for off ice, maybe I'll put something together.
Yeah,
time is the issue right now.
Yeah, well, and I could do it too, actually, off ice. But yeah, that is always the problem. There's so many things we could do.
Yeah,
I was saying this last night to my mom when we were talking. It's like there's so many things we can do, and it's just trying to prioritize and execute. Yeah, the old Jocko principle. Which thing to do first, which thing to work on first. But we're working.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just saying, we're working on a lot of different things in the background.
Well, I'd love to have, like, and if anybody's interested, just send this in. Like, this is the thing. When you guys hear like people that are real listeners, you listen to the full podcast and you get what we're all about. Simple things like, I want to do a coach's clinic here in Windsor, or go somewhere to do a coach's clinic. Now it's making the time to get it perfect. But if someone's like interested, hey, can you do it? Would you be interested in doing a coach's clinic or whatever? Like, my idea for doing the coach's clinic would be taking the coaches and basically going through our philosophies and all these different things, skill building, all that stuff, motivation, how to talk to people, all that stuff. But also to have you on the ice with me in groups or whatever, to actually show you how, like, the basics of so you can feel it, not just hear it on a piece of paper and stuff like that. Yeah. So like, any ideas like that, hear it on a piece of paper. Yeah, you made a face. You can't hear things on a piece of paper. Well, no, you can't. Your dad can't. He's a musician.
I was gonna cut in on it, but I didn't want to ruin your flow.
No, I love it. But on a piece of paper or a whiteboard, like, it's not the same as if you're actually doing it. So like, that's a great way to learn too, is to be live and actually, because one of the things, like I think I said this before, where when I first started doing my skill development, I think this relates, was I was with Kyle Wellwood, and we're going through some stuff, and my words ran out.
Yeah, I remember you've told this story before. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we did an episode about communicating, and you didn't have the words
yeah.
to describe what you
So
wanted to do. Yeah,
yeah, and this was like early, like the first 6 months, a year that I was doing my skill development, and then I realized, like, well, if I can't, I know how it feels, but you can't tell someone to do this. Like that would be the sentence. Just do this. That's not a sentence.
yeah, yeah.
So it pissed me off, and that's when I just ferociously just started writing everything.
Viciously.
Like, what exactly are you doing, so I can put the action into words. So I think a lot of people that coach, and I'm not saying everybody, I'm just saying some people. One of the gaps would be maybe for a talented hockey player. Let's say, yeah, let's just say you got an NHL player that wants to coach or do skill development. Well, they just shoot the puck. You see that very often. I've never, and they'll say, well, I never really thought about how I actually do it and how to transfer that knowledge to someone else, right? So it might be the same thing as a coach trying to say, if they were going through the physical aspect of the teaching and hearing the words and having the feel and doing the motion, that's where a lot of people will be like, oh, this is not so easy. Because you hear coaches all the time, or parents all the time, like, he's not working hard, or he should have moved his feet. Like, I'm just throwing some stuff out there. And so if someone, I always use this example, like a lot of people that'll criticize a player for maybe not playing real well. Like, have you ever skated as hard as you can with someone's stick in your gut and someone chopping at your hands? Your feet, you can try to keep your feet moving, but it's a lot harder, and it may look like you're not doing anything. But until you've done it, to know and not to do is not to know, right? So until you've done that, you can't sit there and have that experience to fall back on and say, okay, like the kid was moving, but he had, these three things happen to him to impede him or whatever. So anyways, my point is that if you actually go through the steps live, feel it,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
might get some different results.
Um,
If you're interested, let us know.
Yeah. Side note to the side note.
Yeah.
That book I was reading again, Range, David Epstein, guys. Mentioned that's the fourth time I think I've mentioned it. So last couple nights actually, I was reading about how people that are experts in a certain area, sometimes they have a difficult time solving their own problems because they're coming at it from their small domain of expertise. So sometimes people that are outside of that knowledge base can help to solve a problem. So there's a site, I think it's called Innocentive, I think is the website. I don't know if it's still a thing or not, but this book is pretty recent, so I'm sure it is. And basically, whether it's NASA or pharmaceutical companies or like big companies will post problems that they have kind of as like an open source with a reward for people that can help them solve their problem, and people will solve the problems. So I think he said a third of the problems that they post on there are completely solved by some other person
That's incredible.
that has like normally is outside of the area of expertise.
That's amazing.
So, and that's because they can draw from different experiences. So
That's
amazing.
amazing.
The one guy was talking about, the example he gave was when they were first trying to figure out how to preserve foods, they had all these chemists trying to figure out how to do the preservation of foods. And then, I mean, it still is kind of related, it's in the domain, but you would think like someone who's a chemical engineer, if someone's going to figure it out, that's the person, right? But it wasn't that. It ended up being a chef that had worked in France or whatever for years and years and years and had practiced doing these different things to make things last and had come up with ways to make things more shelf stable or whatever. So it wasn't the chemist person who's supposed to be the expert on chemicals. It was a chef who had experience working with food
every day,
right? So my point of bringing that up is in the context of, for us, when we're doing hockey stuff, because we know hockey stuff, maybe we don't necessarily understand all the problems that are happening outside. So when we are trying to, relay a message or solve a problem for you guys, and maybe we don't do it in the best way, that feedback that we get from you guys is super helpful, because maybe you're giving us an angle that we hadn't thought of, or you're giving us a circumstance we hadn't come across before, or whatever, and we can get our brains outside of just the hockey part, which I feel like we do a pretty good job of anyways, because we have other experiences, but it's just helpful to get input from outside sources because we can be real stuck in our lane of hockey stuff all the time. And so it's helpful whether it's, like I said, stuff on the website or a topic we were talking about or whatever. Anytime you guys give us feedback on stuff, it helps us to solve the next problem that maybe we didn't see because we're so in it.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's amazing you said that, because remember yesterday, Stefan,
yeah,
the teacher that does the hockey
the
class.
academy, yeah.
This is what I always say. Like, I learn hockey from the weirdest places sometimes, and you would think that, like, because he always comes in here and asks for advice. What I was saying it for is that the experience that we have, you wouldn't think that you're going to go watch 5 minutes of a practice that's a very low level hockey, that you would sit there and go, that's good. But I get that all the time. I might go to a practice and I'll say, like, I'll stop in to see a practice and I'll go, wow, that guy, that's not the way you treat kids.
Mhm.
That's not the way a practice should be run. Zip your jacket up.
Yeah.
There's one that skates around with his jacket open. It's like, what are you doing? Like, it's all these little things you learn. But anyways, I went for a pee outside, and I just stopped and watched his skill session yesterday. And I said, that's great. And I told him that when he came in. I said, that's great. It's simple, but it was a good pace. It was
Exactly
it was with
what they
pivots
needed.
and skating. Then I could add pucks, you could add passing and all that stuff. But it was like good intensity, and it's appropriate for every level that's going to benefit you. And then when he came in here to see how we were doing, I said, I watched 2 minutes, and I said, it was fantastic. He goes, really? And he was like so happy about that. I said, and I don't know where he got it from. He maybe got it from maybe watched the actual practice of a real high end guy. I don't know, but whatever he did, I learned something that I could just throw in my bag. It's like, that's a good one. Not that I haven't done something like that, but it was like a different version of
Sometimes
it.
it's a refresh, something you thought of before.
And to see it from a different lens, not being on the ice, you're watching these kids go at it, and it really didn't matter about the talent level. It was just, that's a good drill.
Yeah,
that's a
for
good skill drill. So
Yeah,
anyways.
yeah, it's cool. So I think that's enough intro to start here. So I want you to tell. So today we're going to talk about being a team player, which is a good topic, and not in the corny way that everyone talks about. You got to be a team player, like this kind of thing.
I honestly, I was watching. Okay, so obviously, there's a certain team that I really love.
Yeah.
Right, and I watch them a lot. So I pick up little things here and there on what's going well and what's what happened in games, or when they succeeded and when they're kind of not succeeding, and you see all the little things, and which made me say, like, when and personalities and stuff like that. So it just made me realize that one of their successes is because they are such a group of team guys. And you can see it when someone scores 99% of the time, that everyone's happy, or someone throws a big hit, everyone's happy, or someone blocks. Like, everybody is actually happy for each other for the most part. I mean, of course, you're going to get the odd guy, the odd situation where it's, people are thinking of themselves, but that's it. But to watch a team be a team with the coaches and everything, it's a thing of beauty. Actually, I know that sounds kind of corny, but it's actually a thing of beauty.
Right.
So over the last week or so, I've been thinking I think I want to touch on that, because, well, let me go into this in a second. But so if you want to find out where a kid's head's at, do what I did yesterday.
Yeah, I love this. Go into this. This is good.
So because my head was thinking about, are you a team guy or not? A few of the kids that came in to work out this week, so yesterday particularly, I went to the first kid that. Anyways, I asked these guys the question. I said, how was the weekend? Meaning, how was the weekend for hockey, right? How was the weekend? First guy goes, oh, it was awesome. We won all 3 games. Guys played good, and whatever. It was awesome. The guys played hard. Cool. The second guy, how was your weekend? Oh, I got a goal on Friday, and like, I didn't play that good. Like, I worked hard. I had chances, but I couldn't score on Saturday. And then Sunday was like, we got a couple assists, and but the power play needs to get better. Whatever. And he went all that stuff. So there's 2 differences there. First guy was all about team. Second guy was all about me, and it was like, I did it just to see. But it was like 2 guys, 2 different things. And when you look at, you agree, you look at these personalities on those 2 people, and one plays like a team guy, one plays as an individual.
Yep.
clear as day. So the question is, which one would you? I'm asking you this question. Which one do you want on your team? Obviously.
Yeah, obviously. But so I'm gonna be pushback guy on some of these. So obviously the answer that everyone wants to give is I want the team guy, right? And I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit later on.
Yeah, we are.
But there's a certain line where a team will tolerate a not team guy because they're just that good.
Yes.
So it's like if all things are equal, you want to take the team guy. Even if all things aren't equal to a certain degree, you want to take the team guy. But then there is a line where a player is just so good that even if they're a shit guy or they're not a team guy, you'll still take him just because at the end of the day you want a good hockey player.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm going to say 95 to 99% of the time you're going to take on any team at any point, you're going to take the team guy over the individual.
But the question mostly is which one would you rather have?
Yeah,
So I would rather have Sidney Crosby being the team guy than Sidney Crosby just being an individual that cares about himself. That's the point. It makes it tolerable for everybody.
Right.
And yes, 100%. There are several guys in the NHL that are just, you can't get rid of them because they're going to get 3 points. So, or they're going to do something ridiculous. And then the other side of it, because I know where people are going already, team guy does not mean you're not working on your individual stuff. It's very, very important that you're the best at who you are.
Yeah, it's 2 caveats then before you go.
Yeah.
One is that what you just said is being a team player doesn't mean that you don't or can't care about your own performance or your own success, right? You have to. So that's caveat number 1. Being a team player doesn't mean that you are always sacrificing your own success because you can't. It doesn't really make sense that you're going to be sacrificing what you can do and your success for the team. A lot of times they go together. If you want to be successful, that means the team needs to be successful. That's number 1. Do you have a cut in? You're just holding your glasses.
This is where my glasses are right
now. That's number 1. And then number 2, this is something that is particularly irritating to me about people that make comments about some of the topics we talk about, is they'll compare their situations or they'll throw out the example of the exceptional person who didn't follow the rule. Yeah. Right? So if
there's
you want
always going to be that.
Yeah, there's always going to be that guy. So if you want to say, like one of the examples we gave before is like how much partying should you be doing? And the answer is not much. For 99% of people, if you are a partier, you're going to at some point you're going to run out of rope and it's going to affect your game negatively and you're not going to make it. You're not going to go to the next level. And then people will go Tyler Seguin, Patrick Kane, whatever. And it's like, you're not that guy. You're talking about guys that were 1st and 2nd overall picks, best players and top 10 players in the NHL at certain points of their career. You're probably not, and your kid's probably not that guy. So comparing yourself to the exception as opposed to the rule isn't really appropriate.
Well, on the other side of that is you don't know how long their career could have lasted if you didn't. So that's the side that people don't see.
Yeah. You don't know what would the benefit be to them if they were also a good team player, for example. So that's the other caveat I want to throw out is just because you can find a player that doesn't follow what we're talking about doesn't mean that that's a good example to follow. It should go without saying, obviously, but for the 99% of cases or 95 or whatever the percentage is, the rule is the rule for most of the players that are going to go through hockey. So those are kind of the 2 things I just want to throw out before you go.
Yeah. So being a team guy, like being a team player, a lot of the times. So I gotta get close to the mic. Being a team player, a lot of times it seems like it's just words. I want the players and parents and coaches really to really understand this because it just goes a long way. Goes a long way through hockey. Goes a long way for your life. Right. So number 1, what I got here is I said a team player it's a really tough thing to understand, especially when you're young. And it's hard to understand because when you start off playing hockey, you start off, all you care about is yourself, more or less. I mean, if your team wins, like you get competitive kids, that it's important that their team wins. But when you're just trying to say at the lowest levels possible, you're just trying to survive. You're trying, like, you see every kid out there, no matter where they're near the puck or they're not, they're like, hey, here, pass me the puck. I remember my little guy doing that. Here. It's like, who are you yelling at, man? There's no way you can get it to you. But And then when they get the puck, they want to go and try to score, and their skill level is not good enough to do anything anyways. But the point is that when you start off, it's like it's individual, and everything you do is about you just becoming a little bit better so you can play. Maybe it's so you can score your first goal, and when you get a goal, like your family goes nuts. And this is where when kids are young, mom and dad give them, there's so many kids that used to get $2 or $1 a goal, and all that stuff kind of starts. So like that, I don't know if I'm going like an evolution here, but there's a reward there for being an individual, right? And I'm not saying bad, good, whatever. It's a cute little thing to do with little kids and stuff like that. When it gets later in life, it gets a little bit weird, because then you actually are taken away from what the goal is when you're playing a team sport.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is when you're young, you start thinking about yourself, but as parents, we could really make a big difference in speaking the right language to the kids, putting the emphasis on the right thing. So my next point is that kids are young and they don't know the difference. So if they're rewarded on an individual player, always told that about their game all the time, then that's what their focus is on. So parents have a huge role in shaping kids to be a team person. And for parents, it might not, like, if you don't run a business, if you don't play on a team, and if you're not part of a culture that takes a team, it might be a little bit more difficult for you to understand like how important a team is. But I mean, you can just take your family dynamic, right? If I expect my wife to take care of certain things that I do, and I overstep my boundaries with her, whatever rules it is, then it becomes confusing. And it also becomes you're not appreciated for what you do, and it also becomes ineffective, right? So it's really important, like, if you can work as a team together, things actually get done. So as a parent, hard to understand, like, because you're watching your own kid, like, especially in the early ages. Like, and I'm like I always say, I'm no different than any other parent. When my son first started playing hockey, my kids started playing sports, Avery in volleyball, Carter in hockey and baseball, and Charlie in his sports, 20 sports that he played. When you start off, you're just watching your kid. It's important that your kid works hard, because what are you looking for, right? Is he trying hard? Does he have a little bit of skill? Does he have a little bit of talent? Does he have a smile on his face? Is he treating people the right way? Are the coaches nice to him? And all those little things are what you're watching as a parent. And then if they score the goal in soccer or in hockey, then you're like so excited for him because it was his first goal, or he's got 10 now, or whatever. So you're so focused on your kid, and then what happens is you talk to him as, oh, you had a nice goal there. Oh, it looks like you had fun. You, right? So, and it's normal. It's normal. But as you get older as parents, if you don't start speaking a different language or watching a different way, little things like, you don't know what the coach, like, you might say, your son didn't, you might be disappointed in him that day because he didn't play as well as you thought, and say something, and it's like, but you don't know what the coach asked. Like, you have no idea what the coach has to talk to him, and the coach doesn't have to share every detail with every mom and dad about what we're going to be doing today. So it's important to understand that it's not just about your kid.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go ahead, and then I'm going to take a breather.
Well, yeah, I think my only question along those lines would be, at what point does it start to turn into more of a team focus as opposed to an individual focus? Because when you're a kid, when you're young, you're just trying to figure out how to play the game. So that you're not worried about team stuff yet, because I'm just trying to figure out how to do a crossover,
100%.
man, right? So if I can't do a crossover, I need to figure that out first before I worry about passing to my friend. Or if I can't skate with the puck on my stick, just taking that for granted. If I have to stare at the puck to do my stick handles, that I'm not worried about passing yet. I need to figure out how to do that. So at what point along the development path do you feel it should be we're starting to introduce more team concepts, or team success equals my success, and those kind of things?
Yeah, it's nothing drastic.
Yeah.
It's the little language that you have, right? So I would say, like, this is maybe it's a year earlier, maybe it's a year later,
just like
maybe it's a level.
just a line to say.
But
a line,
I'd say
yeah.
once you start getting to the 8, 9, 10, and you're on a team and you're playing against other teams, like when you're playing the cross ice or the introductory levels of, obviously you just go have fun. Once you start playing for a team, like, especially if you're playing for a travel team at 8, 9 years old, then I think it's very important to introduce the team concept to your kid. Not a lecture. It's not anything huge, but it's like, you talk about the team.
Yeah,
It's
you're
little
starting to
things
bring the
like
concepts in, yeah.
who are you guys playing against? So you guys have like just I don't want to sound like stupid here, but you guys have a good team. I hope your team does well today, not just you. That's a little thing. Um, oh, did you see Eric today? Did you see that nice pass that he made? Passing the puck or making other, like just suggesting, not even telling them, suggesting that that there's a team, not just about you. That's all. It's not a hardcore. You're not going to be captain at 9 years old. You don't have to be Mark Messier at 9.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's being aware that, but it's being aware
Yeah.
that it's a team sport, and so another conversation is, so what did the coach say to you guys today, before the game or after the game? Nothing. Okay, that's fine. He said that let's really pass the puck, and then it's like, oh, okay. Did you listen to the coach? Did you understand why that is? And just, it's not rocket science. It's just asking questions. Don't be too crazy about it. Okay.
Yeah.
At a young age.
So I think the idea is, like I said there a couple times, is you're starting to introduce the idea that there's a team. It doesn't have to be you're teaching them about the team. It's just we're saying things that let them know that there's a team. So now one other point is, what about situations where, let's say, up to probably, I would say around 12, if I had to put a number on it, there can be a very disproportionate level of skill distribution on the team. So if you have a kid that's better, we've kind of touched on this idea before, how if your kid just keeps the puck, he'll probably score because he's better. So let's say your kid is the best skater on the team and he's 10 or 11. So that kid can maybe do the end-enders and score, or he can shoot better than everybody. So if he just shoots, then he'll probably score more than not, or more than anyone else. So if he gets the puck in a scoring area, like, bud, you got to just shoot the puck because you'll probably score. So what about that kind of idea where the kid is just better than everyone, or better than a lot of the kids on the team? How do you, as a parent, how do you navigate balancing? Because from the kid's perspective too, it's like, that's frustrating. It's like, if I pass the kid and he can't catch the pass, but dad, like, why can't he can't do anything with it? So let's talk a little about that.
Well,
situation.
can I go both sides?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so first let's take the kid that has all the skill, talent, and whatever. Parents are doing you. It's not about getting the goal, especially young. I don't care if you're 12. I don't care. It's about making other people better. And I know a lot of people don't understand exactly what that means, but yes, in maybe a real important situation, you want to push them to get the goal or whatever to win the game. But as parents, as coaches, you want to also suggest very strongly to help other people be better. And you don't have to say it in those words. It's just like, you're such a good hockey player, Eric, right now, that we can count on you to score when we need to. But why don't we try every now and then, looking at Eric only got 2 goals this year, and if you can set him up, imagine how good that'll make him feel. That's one way. Parents is the same thing. It's, you're suggesting, while you're doing really good, like, you don't minimize it. It's awesome. You're doing really well, but let's always remember that we got other team. It's not to take away their individual accomplishments, but let's try making someone else get a goal. So maybe today, instead of taking a shot every time you can, maybe you try to, hold on to the puck and look for someone to go to the net. Talk to your teammates. Tell them, say, when I get the puck, just go to the net. I'm going to get it to you. Or go here and I'm going to pass you the puck and you try to score. There's little simple, I'm a kid, talking like a kid, right? From the other side of the point is, this is where it's really, really difficult. So actually it's difficult from both sides. You got the individual skilled guy and the parents that, of course, you want to see that. When you go on the ice anywhere in the world, if you're the best guy on the ice, of course you're going to feel good about that. And you probably get frustrated with other people as a parent, say, well, the kid can't pass the puck, just shoot. Hey, Eric, just go shoot, just put the puck in the net and do your thing, because these guys are shit. That's very, very typical. Not really the best thing to tell your kid, but that's an issue. So if I was that parent, which at some points in my life for my kid, I was that parent, and it was like, make other people better. That was the message I always sent to my son: always make other people better. And it's about the team. Like, rising tide raises all ships. So if we take the kid that, or the family that has a kid that's struggling, maybe he's not as good, And it's like, or it's you and me on the team, and you're like just, I'm maybe second or third best, and you're just way better than me. So how do you deal with that as a parent? How do you deal with that as a kid? It's real easy to be jealous. It's real easy to try to knock them down and say, yeah, but he should pass more and all that kind of stuff. But me, because we've had this too, is that we've had both sides of it. It's like, yeah, dude, that's a good hockey player. But did you see how he made that play? If you try to be, or if you try to make plays like that guy, or if you work hard like that guy, that your team is going to be that much better, or you're going to be that much better. And of course, it's don't worry about how, just keep doing the thing to make your team better. And that message always was a good message, and were there times in youth hockey, not so much, points was not a issue, but that's where it was really important for me as a dad, as a coach, and whatever. I recognized that there was a certain level of skill and talent and passion for hockey, that I would pick out other things that he did well. So it was never about the goal. I would find the smallest thing to say that was great. So if he, at an early age, if someone kind of bumped into one of his buddies on his team or did something that he didn't like, he would stand up for that teammate, and I would say, "Good job for that." Like, because Luke didn't know what to do there, and you helped him. And it'd be like, great. Or when someone blocked a shot or like got something out, the guys that did the smallest levels of stuff, I always showed him that that's important. Or when he did something very small, I would praise that, not the big thing.
Yeah, I want to touch on the points thing too a little bit because people get so caught up on points. So two things. First, points up until you're 14 are basically irrelevant, other than it makes you feel good to get a lot. So if you're the top goal scorer when you're 10 or 11 or 12, it is so close to irrelevant that it's laughable that people take it that serious, because it just does not matter. Because once, for especially for boys, 13, 14, 15, 16, things are changing year to year like you would not believe. So if your kid is the one that's scoring 100 goals a year when they're 8, 9, 10, 11, that's great. Like, I know that's super fun and enjoy it, but that ain't happening for much longer, because as soon as that puberty sets in and kids start to get competitive and heights even out, weights even out, and everyone starts to really develop and be more serious about playing, that changes. There's not many 100-goal scorers that play AAA when they're 15, 16. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, even as you get older with points, unless you are the 2-point a game guy where you're just getting so many points that it's ridiculous, an extra like 10 or 15 points a year isn't going to make that much of a difference. So if you're talking about the difference between a point per game and 1.2 points per game, and to get those extra 10, you played more selfish, people notice the more selfish. So it's not necessarily of benefit to you to be scrapping for more points. Or the kid that's always telling the referee who got the assist, or those types of things. It's not actually of benefit to you. So when we talk about, points aren't everything and those types of concepts, obviously they're a first indicator that people look at. But if you're not the guy that's just getting so many that it's crazy, then it's not going to make or break you anyways. The difference between 0.8 points per game and 1.2 points per game is not that different. So if the guy that's getting 0.8 per game does things right, and the guy that's getting 1.3 or 1.5 per game doesn't know how to play properly, the scouts notice that. It's not enough points where you're going to be a top 3 round pick or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's just important to lay out.
And it's like, I'll never tell anybody to not, like,
yeah, of course.
Like, the goal is obviously, if you can get, like, never settle for 2.
Yeah, of course.
Right. But not at the expense of your team or at the expense of not being a good hockey player. It's doing it the right way. So if you get 2 points a game, but you do everything right, your back checks, your D zone, and we're talking to little kids, so they don't even understand half of that. But if you can do everything right and the effort's there and you've made plays the right way, then then of course get as many as you possibly can. So, but it's the point that you're making is do it the right way, right? And don't just make it all about points. So anyways, so my point with the parents here is it's really hard for you to develop a kid into a team guy when mom and dad only talk about individual stuff. It's really, really hard because that's what the kid's going to focus on. I've seen a lot of parents who believe their kid is something that they're not, like tons. They think that they're good, and it's like they're and then it just goes away. And a lot of the times is because they're so focused on the individual stuff they watch the game through that through the blinders, right? Um, the goal, like as I said earlier, or the talk with your kids all the time is they need to work as hard as they can. They need to work on their individual skills as much as they can, but the talk should always be, how do you make other team better? How do you make others around you better and your team better, not vice versa? Because I can't tell you how many times in youth hockey, it's, or even the OHL and stuff, it's people like, well, if he played with this guy, if he played with this guy. Well, it seems like all the time the guy always needs to play with someone else to have a good game. So maybe something in your game has to change, or you should have a different attitude about it, because you should be able to contribute on any line if you understand your role or effort or something like that. So it's not, don't blame other people for, like, if I played on the top line, I'd have more points. Yeah, that's fine. But let's say you're on the third or fourth line. What are you going to do to make your teammates better? And that's the important thing. And then do it extremely freaking well.
Yeah, dude, and man, that's a really good way of putting it. I'm thinking of when I was playing in junior. That was the attitude. It's what can the team do for me rather than what can I do for the team.
It's the bottom line.
Yeah, and that's such a common way of thinking when you're a kid, because you think it's all about you. But if you start to shift your mindset to be, what can I contribute to this team, as opposed to what can my team do for me to make me better, there's a whole world of opportunity that can open up, and I remember it would have been so nice if a coach would have said that, or if in that way, the way you just put it, it would have been so helpful to have somebody say that to me. Like, what can you do for this team, as opposed to what can the team do for me? And I remember I've used the example from a few months ago. I was talking with one of the kids that plays junior around here, and he was recognizing that he's never going to take the spot of these other couple guys on his team, because they're the offensive powerhouse favorite players from an offensive perspective. And he was like, I understand I'm not going to take that spot. And so we had a conversation of like, okay, then what can you do to get more love in a different way? Because there's a lot of ways to get the love. So what does your team need? What gaps can you fill? And we talked about it.
And what are your other assets?
Yeah, exactly. So we talked about it. We came up with a couple things that he could start to take more seriously. And I don't think he's been out of the game very many times since. He's was starting off, he's a third, fourth line guy, in and out of the lineup. And I think he's been, since we've had that conversation, I don't know if he's missed more than a game or whatever.
And he feels good about it.
Feels good about it.
He's happy with it. He understood that I'm contributing the right way. Yeah. I'm happy with myself, and all the positives that go with it.
Yeah. So I want to just reiterate that. Yeah. What can I do for my team, not what can my team do for me? Because that's a really common problem that you see on all teams, all levels, all players across the board.
Yeah. And this is where I'm just on the parents a little bit right now. It's like, that's our job. Coaches, it's one thing to, hopefully you can get a coach that explains and helps a kid understand and is actually feels good about his role, even though it might not be the goal scorer, that they get it. And then you make them feel good about doing that. But the truly what's important is, this is where parenting is the thing, is most parents have it backwards. Like, most parents look, and that's what they say. If you play with this guy, you'd get more points, right? But let's just say, because we've been there, I've been there with our kids, is let's say you're a plug and you're playing with two other plugs on a line, right? Now what? So basically, that you guys are the third line. So what do? Do you cry? Like, you can't cry.
Yeah,
you can't cry, man. Like, it would be nice to go up there, but obviously maybe you're not up to that level, or maybe they put you down to the third line for a reason. So that's what you have to do as a parent when the kid comes home, or you say, whose line are you on now? And it's like Buckshot and Tommy Tuckaluk. And you go, oh my God, he's got to play with these guys. Like, he'll never get a point. Like, don't look at it that way. Look at, okay, here's like you're the engineer. What do you do when you have a problem? You solve it if you think you have a problem. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Eric, what do you think Tommy does well? Not much. Okay, but let's find something. Let's find what Tommy does well. Well, he forechecks really hard, but he's always out of position. Okay, fine. Forechecks hard, always out of position. What about buckshot? Buckshot, like not much. He just kind of dumps the puck out. Okay, and what are you good at? Well, I think I'm better than him. I can shoot. Okay, let's come up with a plan. How do you make these guys better? Okay, if you know he's dumping it all the time, encourage him to do that, and talk to your centerman because he's a good forechecker. So make sure that you get on that puck and I'll go to the net, or you dump it in, I'll get it to you. You create a plan so that the kid has something to work to instead of complaining.
Yeah.
It's real simple. So you can do that at every freaking level too. And then the other question is, okay, so what did the coach say to you about this? Anything? And if it's nothing, it's nothing. But try to create a positive experience so the kid can come out of this thing and say, okay, I did my job. And sometimes no one else will notice it, but that's part of life, man.
Yeah. Dude, it's so important for the parents. Like, that is such a huge role that you can play. Because, like I was just saying, when I played, it would have been so nice to have someone tell me. And to my parents' credit, like my dad used to say that, make people around you better, but we couldn't get much more specific than that because my dad never played hockey. So we couldn't get into the nitty gritty of how to make a plan and who's in what role, and we never really talked about things like that.
I'm not saying it's easy,
but my point being, if you are hearing this information as the parent, this is huge, because when I was a kid, how am I supposed to know? And you as the parent, maybe you're not, you shouldn't know any better either. Why should you know any better? But now we're telling you, and that can be huge for the kid, because I don't know. I'm the kid. How would I know this information?
Yeah.
You know?
And when you do have a talent, someone that just is better than you, like, actually embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing.
Well, it's not like it's of no benefit to you either to play with a guy that's really good.
But it is what it is. Someone's a really good hockey player on your team. It's like I know that in the youth hockey, it's and probably at the junior pro level, it's all the same too. But
well, there's other benefits. Like, I'm thinking of on the U16 London team, they have that Rubric kid that he's probably going to be a top 5, might be first overall in the OHL draft, right? That's the talk. So if you play on that team, on the one hand, you can say, be jealous, or do the be jealous trick, and this kid gets all the goals and he plays all the minutes and that sucks and whatever. That's the one way you can look at it. The other way you can look at it is there's probably a scout at every single one of your games.
100%.
So whether or not that kid does well doesn't mean that you can't also do well.
100%. That's my point.
When you look at the draft, the first 3 rounds, whoever the top team is in Ontario, they'll have 7 players that get drafted. Some of them never even go on to play, So you look at every year, it's the Marlies, or last year was it Oakville or Oakland or Oakville, whatever. They have a good team.
05s were.
Whatever. So whoever the top teams are, Mississauga Senators last year, they have 5-10 guys that get drafted in the first however many rounds, not just because, but they get way more looks because they're on a good team, right? And they have good players. So there's more opportunity for you to be seen when there's people attracting scouts to your team.
Yeah. Yeah. So you take the Rubric kid that you're talking about. It's like, yeah, you could sit there and say, yeah, well, he's big, blah blah blah, and be bitter. Or if you happen to play with him, it's like, set a plan to set yourself up. Like he's a great player apparently. So ride it. So if he's a guy that can get the puck up the ice, make sure you get it to him and get to the net. You might get a rebound, you're going to get an assist. Or maybe he's so good in the corner, so get it in the corner so he can work it, so you can help him out. But, like, work with him, not against him.
Exactly.
Because his success will be your success if you play along with the game.
Exactly.
And that's Wayne Gretzky had people that play with him all the time. That's incredible.
That's what I wanted to point that out, because even we talk about kids that want to jump ship. This is one of the reasons, right? They think if I play on a better team, I'll get more this or more that or whatever. And to a certain degree, like we've talked about, you might get more looks if you play for the Marlies or you play for whoever. Yeah. There's normally just more people that watch.
But the flip side of that, so you got to understand the flip side of that is that if scouts are at your game every game and you're playing with good players and you're not doing the secondary work, the second fiddle stuff, like the back checking and the little details, then they see that a lot as well.
Right.
So a lot of kids don't get drafted just simply because they're really not doing much. They're trying to be the same as the top dog.
Right, and that's why I don't necessarily want to go into that, because we've talked about the differences in that before. But my point being is, if you're going to get on a good team that wins more, there's going to be more attention on your team. That's just what happens, right? So if you get pissed off and act like that's a problem, which you can certainly do if you want to, then you're not going to reap the potential benefit of having that good team. You know, even if you are a third line player, if you become the best crash and bang guy in the league and you guys win a couple tournaments and you go deep in the playoffs and all this kind of stuff, people are going to notice that you are that really good crash and bang guy, even if you never score one goal.
Stick out like a sore thumb.
You know, so it doesn't have to be that this. We get back to the team concept of just because there's a guy that's better, or just because you're playing with worse players, or whichever way you want to spin it. You can spin it the way of this sucks, poor me, or you can spin it the way of how do I make a plan, like you're saying, how do I make a plan to make this situation better?
Yeah.
You know,
I use that with the Brinket. He's obviously very gifted, but when I coached in that Detroit league, he was on the worst team. He showed up every day, so it doesn't matter the team. Anyways, there's nothing better than seeing a team win, though, man. Like together, it's like when we watch the kids that we're interested in, like that team that we're interested in, it's like nice to see. It's just nice. Everyone gets to contribute. You know, everybody gets a little bit of ice, and it's nice. So in order to be a team player, what you have to understand is we used to say this before every game. It's kind of funny, but it was to get the point across. We'd always say, we talk about chopping wood. Let the choppers chop, let the pilers pile. If you're a singer, sing. If you're a dancer, dance. Just meaning don't get your role reversal mixed up. And what the chopping and the piling is, the chopping, the guys that chop the wood are the guys that are doing like that grunt work. The guys that's right. So you're in the corners, you're blocking shots, you're doing the tough shit. The guys that pile the wood are the guys that are scoring the goals. But when a chopper wants to become a piler and a piler wants to become a chopper, it doesn't necessarily work that way. You got to respect each other's roles. So when you're given a role, basically what we're saying is do it really well so we can play together, right? And it's as you move up levels, it's just really, really important to really sort to understand that, because you know, it's very evident. You know, there's some younger guys in the OHL right now that, you know, I watched in Oshawa the other day, and there's Seneki is his last name, or Senak or whatever, and just slick, just like soft, like he makes plays really, really well. You know, nice little sauce pass right into the play, right onto the tape for goal scoring, and it's like that's special. I'm not saying but that guy. It's like you have to. Someone can work their life. They don't have that. But then on the flip side, he doesn't have that grit, that hard nosed thing that's going to make a difference in the corners. So respect that player. Now, so for that kid to be good, he's got to continue to do that. And then of course you can work on your other skills and stuff, but this is what you're special at. Like on Guelph, Matty Patras, he can hang on to a puck and have patience, and he gets assists coming out of his ass. He's a playmaker, man. So to go ask him to go and crash and bang and do other, no. There's other guys that are going to do that. So now what happens is someone else goes out there and bangs a little bit. So what are you going to do? You take a passer and you put him with three other passers, or do you put him with a guy that can shoot? And that's basically what happens on that line. And then you get someone that's going to go do the work for them. It's like, now you got a thing of beauty. But the thing is that the grinder that wants to be to do the job of that guy, it's like, it doesn't work, man. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, this is where the
You'll
coaching,
get your rewards, but you know,
this is where the coaching and parenting part comes in too, right? Because a lot of times kids aren't directed in that when they're young, and that's why we always go back to our, you know, being able to identify your 2, 3, 4 things that you're really good at, because then you can establish yourself into more of a role. And that, again, that doesn't mean you're limiting yourself to, you know, if you have an open lane, not take it because you're a grinder and dump it in instead. That's just stupid. But generally speaking, when you play the game, you do a few things well, and that's how you can come up with a team kind of setup, right? On a line, whether it's on a line or on a team. And that's where the coaches are supposed to be. Because I can't tell you how many coaches I had where there'd be a kid that, I have one guy that I'm thinking about in particular that could just score, man. He could just score. And it was ridiculous. Like, I couldn't believe, same kind of thing, just super slick, would not touch a body, wouldn't touch anybody. And instead of using him where he's strong, because now he's 17, 18, 19, 20, There's not going to be like that's a pretty dense skull now, right? That we're not going to do a lot of change for that type of player. Why not play to his strength? Don't expect something of him that he not only is he not good at, he doesn't want to do, right? And this is where the coaching stuff comes in, because I can't tell you how many coaches would be reaming him about not finishing hits, and to a certain degree, right? To a certain degree, it's like you have to
Yeah,
be able to do things you don't want to do. You got to help your team. I get that, but why are we putting this guy in a position to not be successful? You know, so if we take the guy you're talking about from Oshawa, we say, okay, your job is crash and bang. Well, for him, it's like
finish every hit and block every shot.
I don't,
and you should.
Yeah, you should, right?
But
from the coaching perspective, it's if you're going to ask him to do this, maybe also toss him a bone in the way that he's going to be successful, especially when you're a young guy. You know, you play junior college, whatever, and there's 4 lines. So they have their power play set already. If you're a rookie, they already have their power play. Unless you're a standout recruit that is going to skip the line, for the most part, you got to wait your turn. And that can be really, really frustrating if you want to be a guy that scores or whatever. And that needs to be communicated to players. And as the player, you need to understand that is the dynamic, right? So find something else that you can do that's useful in the meantime, while also developing that other thing. And that's where that coach-player relationship is really important. You have to be able to communicate that with each other both ways, you know?
100%. So yeah, so you can see it as you move up levels. Like some guys don't, because they're just head and shoulders above like skill, as far as the skill goes, and they distribute pucks and they just do things really well. So that's probably the guy that's what you're always going to be. But you'll notice as you get up to levels that, oh, it's not as easy anymore, or it's, oh, I'm not that guy anymore. Like I'm having a hard time scoring. Well, there's the first indicator. I'm using goal scoring as the thing, right? Or maybe you were the grinder in youth hockey, and then you get to, as you start getting up the ladder in AAA and maybe junior B, whatever, you realize, oh, this isn't as easy. I'm not the grinder. Like there's indicators, right? So, but it's really, really important to understand that on every team, there's only so many guys that can score goals. There's only so many high end guys, and there's only so many guys that are grinders or whatever. So, um, yeah, there's only so many ultra talented guys on a team. So then now you have to have goal scorers, but then you have to offset that with playmakers, and you have to offset that with the grinders, right? You have the offensive D, but you have to have the shutdown D, and you have to have guys that can do face-offs and penalty kill and playoffs. You can't do it all. So, like as a parent or as a kid, when you notice that, you know, like find those. That's why it's really important as coaches and parents to find those little things that a kid does well. So if you see a D, you're playing D, and every time someone comes down, he just knocks the puck away every time. It's like you emphasize that and say that's you really have a really good strength there, because that's something that's not getting a lot of glory a lot of the time. But if that happens all the time, and you really now he's aware that no one scores on me because I'm good at that. So that's a really good role to play, and you want to take that, embrace it, and be the best at it. That's an asset.
Right.
That's a huge asset. So
I just got one with that. Is this kind of goes back to what you mentioned earlier about competing versus complementing guys on your team. So for example, and it also kind of plays into your success in with the team success, right? They don't have to be something that it's one or the other. So if you got a guy on your team, for example, who is the playmaker, and especially when you're young, maybe he scores a bunch too, but he's more of a playmaker. He's more of a passing kind of guy, make a play, open up space. Well, if you see that, if he's the centerman, and let's say I also play center at the time, and instead of me thinking, okay, I have to do what he does better than him so that I get more opportunity than he does, instead you could be like, well, this guy doesn't have a shooter on his line, or he's got 2 guys on him everywhere he goes. Maybe he needs someone in there to crash and bang a little bit to get some space. Like you can identify something you can do to now be with that guy where you can have a little bit of a synergy because you're filling in each other's gaps, as opposed to thinking I need to outcompete this guy on my team, because there's an element of that inner team competition between guys.
And there should be,
right? 100%. That's not a
everybody wants to be on the first line, get the most ice, get the power play, get the PK, and take faceoffs and get the important minutes. Every single guy.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily an unhealthy thing to have.
No,
but instead of trying to go against the grain and say I'm going to out playmake the playmaker, well, maybe you could become a much better shooter. And you could start this even when you're a kid, when you're not sure what you're good at, right? If you play with a guy that just has that little bit of a natural ability to throw a sauce pass that's really good, or this guy can really rip the puck, maybe you can start focusing on how do I get this guy the puck so he can shoot?
100%.
Or
That's
how
what I
can
was trying to say
yeah,
earlier.
right? Or how can I be the guy that's open for the shot? And then maybe now at home you're practicing your shot over and over and over because you know this guy's going to pass to you. This guy's given you 4 passes last weekend and you didn't score one of them when you're in a prime time spot because your shot's not good enough. Develop yourself into a shooter. There's ways to do this where it's your success and it's the team success now. It's not just me or I have to outcompete this guy to be better for
Yeah,
me.
100%. Yeah, and that's why you take your individual skills. You work on everything because you never know who you're going to play with.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I know if I'm playing with Joe Thornton or a Matt Patras in Guelph, my stick's on the ice. I'm ready to shoot because
Yeah.
he's coming. At some point, he's coming. He's setting you up, and he's got such good vision, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, anyways, what I would suggest for players and parents to do to work together is to be success and to have a successful team. Learn what the team needs from you. Pride aside, learn what the team needs from you so that you guys can succeed. Because if the team succeeds and you're contributing to that, then you succeed. And embrace it. So if I'm told we need you to be a shutdown forward, and all right, and understand why and embrace it and be great at it. Because that transfers, right? Like you could always go the other way if you're asked to, but embrace it and do the job extremely well and know that you're contributing to the team. So I know for some parents it might be hard because, well, yeah, but I want them to get the goals and stuff, but just help your son embrace that challenge of being great at what they do.
Trust the process a little.
Yeah. And does this mean if you're like a total team guy that you can't be the goal scorer ever? If you at some point you're given a certain role, that doesn't mean that. Does it mean you'll never be on the power play or the PK because you haven't done it early? No. And what I want people to look at is, and we've said this so many times, there's great players that make $11-12 million a year, and their names are Crosby, McDavid, Matthews, and you go on with that. Those are real special guys. And then after that, you got guys that have really long careers because they can do things really well. Tom Wilson, the Foligno brothers. Like people don't sit there and say, "Who's your favorite player?" Foligno's. That doesn't come up that often, right? Marcus Foligno and Nick Foligno. But they play two-way game. They're rough. They're tough. They play a role, and they're playing for a very, very long time. The Nick Pauls of the world, he's probably sitting at 15 goals, 12, 15, 17 goals this year, but every team wants him because he's that guy on the third line that's going to make, playing for a long time, making money. The Killorn.
Yeah.
What about D, right? Like, remember McDonough when he was playing for Tampa, like without, is it Ryan McDonough? I think so.
Yeah, Ryan McDonough.
Whatever.
Yep.
Without him, that team he's just a hard guy to play against. It's a shutdown role that's tough. It's like, it's critical, man. If you don't have that guy, you don't win. And the guys on the team look at him as like, we need you so badly, man. You're doing the things that no one else is willing to do or can do that well. What about Chris Tanev? When he was out, the team was in a tailspin. It's like he's so important to that team. So it's not the glory guy, but they're sitting there making, in the NHL level anyways, making $3, $4, or $5 million in that area for 10, 12 years. That's a good living, man. That's a really good living. So anyways, I want to move on. So what I did is I really want to get into the team thing from coaches' perspectives and from some people that put out some pretty good quotes. So that I think everyone's heard this. Together, each achieves more. That's team. That's how you spell team. Together, each achieves more. And it's just when you think about it, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean to you? I want your intellectual perspective on that.
So I mean, okay. So if I just go word by word, so together, together, that would be either a group of people, group of individuals, group of something coming together,
working together.
Each would point out the individual part of it. So each individual within a group achieve. Obviously, you're accomplishing whatever you're accomplishing more. So that would mean together we achieve more than any of us individually would achieve. 100%. So what's the there's a math saying in here. The total equals more than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
So if you take each individual and you add it up, you'll get one number, but because it's a team structure working together, you get more than what that total would be, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of like that
Yeah.
one too.
Yeah, and in my hockey language, this is my favorite language.
Yeah.
But my hockey language, just to me, that's just simply like, understand this, right? A guy throwing the team on his back and trying to do all the work, right? The goal scorer or the whoever you are, when you decide that I'm going to do it myself, it just doesn't work as well because someone still has to get the puck up to you. Someone still has to finish a check. Someone has to stand in front of that for a tip. Like the team has to work together. One playing against five just doesn't work. So if everybody has a role, does it really well, then it's just a beautiful thing.
Yep, for sure.
You know, and there's success in that, obviously. Lou Holtz, love this. He was a legendary college coach. I think he coached a little bit with the Giants at one point, but whatever. Here's what he says: teamwork. It's the foundation of success. So teamwork. This is one of the most successful coaches. It's a foundation of success. So can I trust you? Are you committed to excellence? And do you care about me? And I really like that because, first of all, teamwork is the foundation for success. It's not Sidney Crosby is the foundation of our team succeeding. It's the Pittsburgh Penguins. And if Sidney Crosby does his job, his leadership and everything, and we have the moving parts that work with him, this is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, he's part of the team. He isn't the team. Like he's a
100%
significant part, but the team is more than just him.
Because, and the proof is in that pudding, because I am never cutting up Connor McDavid because he's arguably, or everyone say he is the best hockey player in the world. Okay, great. He hasn't won a Stanley Cup yet. So that's your answer, right? It's
not just about him.
Right. So Tampa Bay, you look at them winning the last few years, not last year, but the 2 or 3 years before that. It's like they didn't have the best hockey player in the world on their team. Arguably, they had some really good ones. They had the Sergachevs and the Hedmans on the D. They might have the best goalie in the world, possibly. Mm-hmm. And they have Kucherov and Stamkos. And, you know, those are really good players, but they play as a team. And it's a beautiful thing. Again, it's a beautiful thing. And with McDonough helping out on the back end with Hedman and getting the puck up to Kucherov and Killorn doing the dirty work and getting it to Stamkos for shooting, that's how it works. It's not done whatever. So anyways, that's the foundation, is a teamwork. Can I trust you in a team? Can I actually trust you? Because what does that mean? Well, can I, like, we're in this thing together. It's like the Navy SEALs, right? They talk about how that's the ultimate team, and I don't know if it is or whatever, but they say that they're willing to die for each other, and apparently it's very true. And I'm not saying as a hockey player, you're willing to die for me, but can I trust you? Like, what does trust mean? Does it mean my wallet's in my back pocket, don't take it? That's one form. But can I just trust you, Eric, that when we go on the ice, that you're just going to do your job? You're going to do it to the best of your ability. Can I trust you on that? And can you trust me that I'm going to do my job and that we're in this together and that we're going to have each other's backs? And can we trust each other on that? That's what I think that means on the trust factor, right? I know that you're there for me, that you're going to do your job. And that's important because now I can play the way I need to play. Mm-hmm. Are you committed to excellence? So, like, dude, it's not just in a game, right? Are you committed to excellence as a team? Are we going to end this together? Are you committed to getting to the rink at a certain time and doing all little things to make ourselves better? Are we committed into the video sessions? Are we committed to getting a good night's sleep? Are we committed to all those things? Are you committed to blocking a shot? Are you committed to do all the things together? It's very, very important. Mm-hmm. And the last one, do you care about me? And I think it's actually very important. You'll see teams where, well, I can rhyme off some teams right now, but I'm not going to do that. But you can see teams at the OHL level, like, because I watch so much of it right now, and you could tell there's teams that it's like it's a lot more individual focused, mm-hmm. as opposed to a team that actually cares about each other. You'll see it in a scrum where someone doesn't back someone up, or it's like, he's a goof anyways. It's not those words, but it's like the care factor's not there. Mm-hmm. Where you see another team where someone touches someone and it's like, that's my bud, that's my teammate. Or you see the care factor of someone on the bench, or you see someone that needs to get picked up a little bit, and it's like the guy goes, "Come on, man, you're good. Let's go." You know, you just, those little things. Like, I actually care about your success. If you kids that get drafted, it's not like, well, he got drafted before me. No, so all right, man, it's good. It's freaking critical. Yep. Anything?
Nope. Okay. Keep it rolling. It's good.
You might be the goal scorer, and you don't have to be like necessarily as physically strong. I'm just making this up.
Yeah.
But you can you get to practice sitting at the top of the circles, getting one times and just firing pucks. I have to go make sure that I'm in the gym an extra hour early so I can maintain my strength. So when I hit guys for you, it's really important. You might even be able to go out 3 nights a week and have 6 beers and hang out with people. But my body, I won't be able to do that. So is it fair? Like this is kind of bullshit. I want your life. Well, I'm not you.
Yeah.
So there's prices to be paid
Right.
on different levels.
Right.
So
absolutely. Well, and that's the thing is like if you don't have that other person doing whatever their job is, then maybe you don't even get to have your job. You know? So if whoever the guy is that has to feed Ovechkin, if Ovechkin isn't scoring 30 to 60 every year, then your pass no longer matters. So the fact that you know how to put it on a tee, but on TSN, all they show is Ovechkin getting the pass. They don't show that you're the one giving it to him. Then you actually don't even get that job. You don't get to be the passer because Ovechkin's not there. You know, so you always have to remember that. Well, I'm just as valuable or more valuable than he is. It's like, well, yes and no. It depends on how you're looking at it, what time frame you're looking at it, and those things are important. They're important differences, you know? So you have to remember that there's different cogs in the wheel, and if someone else isn't there doing their thing, maybe you don't even get to do your thing, you know?
100%, man. 100%. Vince Lombardi, one of the greatest motivators in sports. He's just really good. I like what he said about teamwork. He said, individual commitment to a group. Sorry, got to say it over. Individual commitment to a group effort. That's what makes a team work. So that means that, you know, breaking it down again, you putting every single thing that you can into being the best individual to help your team. Pretty self-explanatory. Dial in on your role, and my question is, as a player, as a parent, like, how do you help your parents? Is like, I'm committed to ... I am committed to. So I am committed to your. If you're not the goal scorer, if you're not the high profile guy, whatever, I'm committed to shutting guys down. I'm committed to getting the pucks out of my zone. I'm committing to finishing my head, and take that role, embrace it, and just absolutely commit to it. And you'll be great at it. And it's and you become a very, very valuable and many times irreplaceable.
Yeah, for sure.
Helen Keller, she was blind and deaf.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know, how does this?
That's a tough life.
Ever did
Jesus
anything.
Christ, I know.
Like, talk about a miracle here. She did amazing things. Yeah. But what she said, I love this. Alone we can do little. Together we can do so much. It's great. And you know, always think about that. Like, when you're, as a player, as a parent, like, always remember that there's the people that help you along the way, or you're helping along the way. And because someone's successes might be greater than yours, doesn't mean that, like you said, doesn't mean there's not enough for both of us, right? And the team guys. So, you know, there's, like I said earlier, to get that, goals are made. Sometimes it's because there was a save made, a pass made, a grinder making a big hit, pucks out. And then the goal scorer himself needs to score. Everyone has a job, has to do it well. Phil Jackson, legendary NBA coach. The strength of the team is the individual. The strength of an individual is the team. And it's just like, I had Christian, I forget his, oh my God, he's a good friend of mine. I forget his last name. He was a football player, went to Duke. And he used a concept of this is stronger than this. Like, so clenched fist, and I forget the term. It's actually very smart.
Clenched fist stronger than the digits.
Yeah, but something like that.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Anyway, I really like that. The strength of the team is understand.
You know what's funny about that? I wrote that one down too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Phil Jackson?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great though.
That's a good one. I like it.
Wrapping your head around it though, that's a hard thing. Is understanding, like, because we can get butthurt, we can get jealous or whatever, but understand that your role is absolutely critical, even though it's may not be the most glamorous.
Yeah.
Coach K, I read a couple of his books. Very good.
Who's Coach K?
Mike Krzyzewski, Duke basketball coach.
Yeah.
Right, big nose.
Yeah, big nose.
Yeah, pain in my ass a little bit.
Is he?
But he's a good coach.
I don't know anything about him.
I like the concept.
Yeah. I literally don't know anything about him.
Yeah. Pain in my ass. Why is it? Why?
Yeah.
Why is he a pain in my ass? Like, I don't even know the guy.
I was just gonna say, what do you do to you?
It's like his schnoz and his bald head, and it's like he's at Duke, and he.
How is he a pain?
What?
You go, he's a pain in
He's
my
not a
ass.
pain in my ass.
How?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, have you ever talked to him once?
No, but he's an amazing
Yeah,
coach,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So
Uh,
funny.
he says the teamwork is the beauty of the sport. I love this. 5 guys working independently towards one goal or vision. I love it. That's how you win.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of wrapping up here.
Yeah, wrap it up.
Are you good?
Yep.
It'll take a while though.
Okay.
Okay, so the reason I pointed these people out is because, as you can see, these are like coaches and leaders at the highest level. Like coaches at the highest level, they're coaching the LA Lakers, coaching Duke, coaching somewhere else.
Yeah.
But your NHL coaches do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's they put so much value on team guys, on the team, and until you run a team, I guess you never really understand it. But it's the team that goes, not the individual. So if the people making the most money that run the best teams that have done it for the longest time put great value on the team, probably good idea that you understand how important the team is.
Yep.
And the more of a team guy you are, the better chance you have to play.
Yeah, even if you don't agree, that's the thing, right? The coaches, it's the common thread that everyone. It can be cliched a little bit, but it's really not. Like it's so important, man.
Yeah, but I truly believe this. I truly believe this. In Lou Holt's book was explaining his ultimate team guy that he had, and he had a little piddly, smaller guy football, piddly job to do, but he was the best at it. And he explained real well how much that team was surrounded by this guy's piddly little
Really
job.
interesting.
Yeah, so that's why you want to read this shit.
Yeah.
And learn about the team. So this is a real conversation I had the other day. This isn't from a book. So I was talking to an NHL scout the other day, talking about a player. So he's saying this player does everything, all the little things right. And I'm saying this because, like, sometimes people, without hearing examples or hearing it over and over, or players, they don't believe it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, how could you be just a average guy getting average points, being that high sought after? So this guy wouldn't let me leave, and he was like, "So this guy," he goes, "You're the kid I'm talking about, this player does all the little things right." And he doesn't all, and he explained little things right. So let's talk about them: back checking, hitting, moving the puck, keeping it deep, game management, blah 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 blah, team guy, and all that kind of stuff. He goes, he does all those things right. And he goes, like, all the teams, like everyone is talking about him a little bit, blah 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 blah. And he doesn't do things right once in a while. He does it all the time, shift after shift, game after game. Some games are going to be a little bit higher, a little bit lower, but for the consistency of doing all those little things are like, it's outstanding. That guy's not going to play first. He might not be a first round pick or second, who knows? But he said this guy he has the ability, if he continues to do what he's doing, to play for a long time and make a lot of money. So it's like, his comparisons go, it's not Steven Stamkos. He's not going to be this, that, the other. He's going to be like a Nick Paul, Alex Killorn, like the guys that are the second fiddle guys. He goes, but the second fiddle guys make a lot of money for a long period of time. And I'm like, yeah, that's 100%. And it's like, but if you're the dad early on, is that the kind of player that you want? But what happened is he's taken a role and he's doing it extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the important part of that. It's not about how many goals. And that's what he said. He goes, it doesn't matter how many goals a kid like that gets. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So what he brings to the team, and you can see the team dynamic that he brings.
Yeah, it's important that you bring up those kind of stories too, because you only see on TSN, you only see McDavid, man,
or Bedard right now.
Yeah, you only see, but it's like these are the only guys that you see, and the vast majority of guys that play professionally are not that guy. So it's important that you can point out these other stories. Not everybody can be Elon Musk. The guys that build the rocket, it's not just him. Like there's a whole team of people that are doing the work, and those people don't get a mention, but they're still there day in, day out. And because they're not the ones on the red carpet every night, that doesn't mean that they're not there and those stories don't exist. And most people, if you ask if they could have that for their kid, or if you ask any player if they could have that, in a second they'll say yes. But they never think about that. They think about Bedard. They think about McDavid. They think about being those guys. But if you all gave them the offer, or you gave a parent the offer, they would take that in a heartbeat.
You want to hear something funny? You
Mm.
might even insult people if you say, you know what, you're a lot like Nick Paul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, seriously.
Who's Nick Paul?
Yeah.
Or Nick Paul? What? Like, I'm better than that.
Right.
Right?
No, yeah, exactly.
You're not.
You're not.
Or Alex Killorn and say, yeah, well, whatever. Anyway, don't be insulted.
So funny.
Best players in the world. Here's what I'm going to wrap up with. This is my experience as a coach, as a trainer, as owning a business, as a dad. Is at certain times in the game, you're looking for specific people who you can trust to do a job. That's the bottom line. So whether it's I need a goal, I'm trusting in my goal scorer to be able to produce something on that end. If I need to, because hockey's not all that glamorous, right? You could be up 2-0, and I simply need the puck to be deep. Can I trust you that you're going to put that puck deep, or is it too much of a risk to put you out there? Because at some point you say, I might be able to get another point here, or try to make a highlight reel play. So that's the difference of winning and losing, and a coach saying, no, he gets to go, right? Can I trust you'll care about the team or care about yourself? I need to trust that you care about the team and the team win and everything that goes along with it. And can you see when you're on the bench or in the room where you're seeing a guy on your team having a hard time? Can I trust, or can you see it? And can you go up to Eric and say, Eric, what's going on, bud? Or keep working, or whatever it is, and just give those words of encouragement, or point something out, or say, let's go to the gym, or let's grab a coffee, whatever it is. Can you see that the guy needs a little bit of love? Yep. It's really important as a team guy, as a glue guy. And I guess lastly, it's like, even if you are the top dog, when it comes down to it, like it really, really comes down to it, are you willing to block a shot? Are you? Because at some point, your team actually needs you to lay in front of a shot, even though you might be the Wayne Gretzky.
And your team knows whether you'll do it or not.
Well, this is the thing: is when that guy, if what's his name in Edmonton? No, the other guy, McDavid. If he goes out and does something that a grinder does, or does a block shot, or back checks really hard and steals a puck, that you're just taking that ship, right? You've raised everybody's level of commitment. Yeah. When the best guy can do the little things, and when the little guy does a big thing, right? You think I'm trying to think of a plug on Edmonton that Connor McDavid would just be so happy for if he scores. Take someone like that when they get a big goal, or because they did the hard work. Like you get the fourth line guy doing something that Connor, like Darren McCarty had a playoff goal one year that was,
I remember it.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Everyone went nuts and everyone was so happy for him.
Yeah.
And that's what happens, right? You're generally happy. It's funny.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Are you willing to block a shot, or you're just willing to try your best all the time?
Yeah.
And that's important because your teammates recognize it, appreciate it, and love it.
Yeah, I got two to finish on.
Okay.
Do you have anything else or no?
I think I've said enough. I've talked a lot today.
So you did. That was good though. So my first one is going to be, don't make it hard for people to want to be your teammate. And that's something because everybody knows everyone's agenda on the team. Everyone knows if they're in it for themselves or if they're in it for the team. And they don't have to be things that can compete, or they don't have to be things that compete. They can be things that you can have personal success and team success at the same time. If you guys win and you didn't score a goal, be fired up that the boys won. If you
like genuinely,
not just because you think you should to be a good teammate, actually be happy that the boys won, because if you didn't score a goal one game, it's not going to ruin your life. So have some perspective, especially you guys that are out playing junior. It's like you got 4 years of junior, you got 4 years of college to keep developing. One game, one bad game,
10 games.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Like it's not going to ruin your life. So just make sure that you're being a true team guy. You're not doing the pretend team guy thing. We've talked about that before. And make it easy for guys to want to be your teammate. Make it easy for a guy to want to make a hit for you, or want to block a shot for you, or want to stick up for you in a scrum. Like there's nothing worse than the guy that cleans up the scrums coming and be like, yeah, I'm doing this because I have to, not because I actually like you. And you don't want that. That's not a good culture. So I'm gonna end with a quote of my own here. that I looked up. This is from Harry Truman. Do you know who Harry Truman is? He was the
President of Ford.
he was the he was the 33rd U.S. president
I know.
from
No, I didn't know he's 33rd.
yeah,
Yeah.
1945 to 1953. So this was a quote that
Set
I found.
of glasses on him.
Oh yeah, set of glass.
Comb
Yeah,
over.
comb over.
Yeah.
Handsome devil.
Yeah.
So this is the quote. I like it. I'm gonna end on this one, and then we'll leave. It's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. So that's gonna be my quote to finish off. So we'll see you guys next week.